These days, the hot topic in the world of immigration is all about the change of address requirements with the USCIS. For those who are curious and would like to acquaint themselves with this news, I say here is the perfect opportunity to do so by listening to yours truly, Attorney Ramesh Khurana. We truly appreciate Attorney Khurana, who takes his precious time off from his busy law practice to address our camera and educate our viewers. Anyways, back to the legal drawing board here, which we call Business and Immigration Law Update. This is a presentation of Mr. Ramesh Khurana, who is the Chief Attorney and Counselor at Law at the Khurana Law Firm, which is located in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Here on this set, our moderator is Attorney Kenneth Haber, who is from Boyds, Maryland. Let's join these two attorneys.
Welcome. My name's Kenneth Haber. I'm a former Assistant United States Attorney and also a former Senior Attorney of the Office of Inspector General of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. I welcome today Ramesh Khurana, Attorney Ramesh Khurana, who is one of the most proficient immigration attorneys that I'm aware of. I'm a healthcare attorney myself. That's where health was coming out of.
But because that is always up in your mind.
Up in the mind there, yeah.
And that's the way attorneys are supposed to be. Yeah.
And this is the Capitol Forum. Welcome, Ramesh.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I understand you're here today to help elucidate on some of the new aspects of our immigration law as it's evolving.
Sure, definitely. My pleasure. Ask me any questions.
Well, okay, I'm going to ask you a simple one to start out with, but I'm sure that it's complex because nothing's simple about immigration law.
Piercing questions, penetrating questions.
Penetrating questions, that's right.
Okay, no problem.
What about something as simple as changes of address? I mean, like, whose responsibility and what are the regulations concerning changes of address?
You know, Ken, one thing I tell you, nothing is simple.
No.
Especially in regard to the immigration field. Although it's a simple task, like all the beneficiaries of any immigration benefit applications or petitions, they are supposed to keep their addresses current with the USCIS. It's a simple requirement. Probably it won't take more than 10 minutes to comply with it. But I am telling you, still, I know at least 50% of the people, they just don't do it. Maybe they are not aware about it, or maybe they are just procrastinating it. You know, they just keep on delaying it. They keep on thinking, okay, I will do it tomorrow. So it's very important.
Well, what are some of the adverse consequences if they don't keep their address current with the immigration authorities?
You know, very serious consequences. To give you an example. Now, first of all, let me talk about the simple consequence. If the USCIS wants to ask certain questions in regard to any benefit application, now they have to send a letter or notification to the beneficiary or the petitioner, depending upon what kind of petition it is. Of course, if this person is represented by any lawyer, then a copy of that notification goes to that lawyer as well. Now, let us say, for the sake of simplification, that there is no lawyer representation and the petitioner or beneficiary is representing himself. Now, if they ask some questions and address is not current, now they will mail that letter at the address which is on record. Maybe it's a very simple question. And if this question is not answered, USCIS always gives certain days, okay, 30 days, 80 days, 84 days, depending upon the situation. So if no response is received in regard to that particular letter, then probably this immigration benefit application would be terminated. That would be considered abandoned. So this is a simple situation.
What are the type of benefits would we be talking about that the people would be putting at risk by not keeping notice their address current?
Yeah. Now, let's say that there is a petition for the purpose of sponsoring the beneficiary who is basically trying to obtain the green card. Now, I-130 petition is filed, and there are some questions about the birth certificate or about the relationship. So, 4 or 5 questions are asked in the letter, and if you are not submitting any response, now they will make the decision based on the evidence which is already on file. Then you basically are not working in response to the situation, and since they do not have answers to all their questions, maybe they come to the conclusion that your relationship is not fully established, for which the I-130 petition is filed, so they will just deny it. So you lose that benefit.
Is there a way of appealing it, assuming that you even get notice that you've been denied because you haven't changed your address?
You know, there may be a situation whereby you can appeal it. So you will, what kind of argument you will have? You will say
How stupid.
that that I never received this letter. So is this your current address? No, I moved, right? Why did you not change your address? I forgot. I didn't know. But again, ignorance of law is no excuse.
No.
It's denied, it's denied. You may file a motion to reopen, but it's not going to be considered. It will be denied. 99% chances are for the denial. So that's why it's very important. Secondly, there is a mandatory requirement now that you need to change your address if you are the beneficiary of any application. And I tell you, there are serious consequences.
Such as?
Such as, yeah, that's the point here. A person can be fined up to $200, which is not very significant amount, but he can be jailed for 30 days or both. In addition to that, a person can be put in removal proceedings, he can be deported from the country, and the most serious consequence is that a person cannot apply for any immigration benefit in future. Yeah,
Is that automatic, or is that
because they may decide based on the situation. But I have never come across this kind of implementation of this rule in my practice, but this is how this law sets forth.
That's draconian.
There is a possibility, but I have never seen anybody being fined or anybody being put in a jail for not changing the address. But law is there. So why not to comply with it? But at the most you lose the benefit, at least whatever application you have filed. And you cannot make an argument, I never received this letter, because since you change your address without advising the USCIS, and you just didn't do it.
I'll give you a perspective from a security standpoint, from a law enforcement standpoint. Somebody comes in, then they come in legally, but they are for illegal purposes. They want to do terrorism or something. They're not going to put a change of address. Now, from a security standpoint, when they find out about it, now they've got something to charge them with criminally and hold them, even if it's just while they're putting their evidence together.
Right. So there are always serious consequences. I have seen many people, like they move from one state to the other, they never change their driver licenses. And most of the states require that you should be applying for the particular state driver license within 30 days.
Yes.
But I have seen people either just don't know it or they just don't care.
Well, sometimes they don't want to pay the taxes.
Yeah, that's the reason. Like, if you are residing in Maryland and you move to Virginia, in Virginia there is an additional car tax, right?
Yes.
So in order to avoid it, people say, okay, I'm not going to disclose it. But I don't think it's a wise decision.
No.
Always have your driver license with the current address.
Absolutely. What's the nature of the report of a change of address? What are the requirements on the form?
Yeah, sure. There is one form which is called AR11. AR11 form is required to be completed by all non-immigrant visa holders. There are certain categories of people who are exempt. Let us say they are diplomats working for various embassies, or people working with international organizations, or who have come for shorter duration for 30 days or so, they are not required to change their addresses, but otherwise all the non-immigrant people who are here, they are required to file Form AR11. In addition to that, there may be certain US citizens or green card holders, and if they file what we call is an affidavit of support to support any kind of petition, then they are required to advise USCIS about their change of address also. The point here is, when you sign an affidavit of support, it's a contract between the federal government and the sponsor, that I am taking this responsibility, and tomorrow if the federal government wants to enforce this contract, they should be having the current address of the US citizen or the green card holder. So, for that purpose, there is a special form which is called Form I-865. So, all US citizens, if they have given some affidavits of support, they are required to complete this form. But for them is 30 days, within 30 days of the change of address. But for other non-immigrants, there is a 10-day period allowed. When we say 10 days, now these 10 days are calendar days, not business days. So, you have a very short window to apply for change of address. In most of the situations, you go online, and it's a two-step process. The first is, it prompts you to complete AR11. Once you have completed AR11, then you come to those specific petitions which are pending, and then you update your address. So, the next time when correspondence from USCIS comes, it will be coming to your current address. No one else is benefited except you. So, why not to do it and avoid from severe penalties?
When you update it on the computer, is there any hard copy provided to you? Is there something you can print out to get a hard copy of it?
When you are doing it online, of course, you should print it. When you submit it, then you have the screenshot which says that your change of address application is filed. So, you have the evidence. So, you can print it. You can print it and keep in your record.
Is there a requirement that you keep it in your record?
It's always a good idea to keep it, because tomorrow if something happens like that you do not receive correspondence because of some technical glitch, so you can prove that you filed for change of address, but because of certain reasons beyond your control, it was not done in the system, then of course you will get the benefit if you file the motion to reopen or reconsider.
And as long as you have that documentation that you actually made a change of address, they're going to give you the presumption then.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And if you are filing the hard paper Form AR11, then I would highly recommend that send it by a certified mail or anything with a receipt, again because it's a question of keeping your evidence. You have mailed the paper, it's lost with the USCIS, at least you have a record that it was mailed by you. It's very important.
The people who process those things are probably contractors, aren't they?
Of course, as you know that most of the federal agencies, they are using these contractors, and they give this kind of work to contractors and they are doing it. Of course, they are well trained, but sometimes these contractors change after a few years depending upon the length of the contract. When a new contractor comes, depending upon what kind of team that contractor has got, there may be certain training issues. It happens again in all federal agencies, so that if something gets messed up, you have your record.
And there could be, when there's a transition from one contract to another, a glitch where all the documentation isn't transitioned.
It happens all the times. So, it's better to keep your record straight.
Yes.
I always advise my clients, even if you have become or you have been naturalized as a United States citizen, always keep your records intact. Always keep your records intact, because you never know Because you know that even if you have been naturalized as a US citizen, your citizenship can be revoked and it can be taken back. Of course, this has to be through a complaint filed in the US District Court. But there is a provision for that. If somebody committed a fraud in obtaining that kind of immigration benefit, or the underlying green card was obtained through fraud or misrepresentation, they can take your citizenship back. And that's why I say keep your records always with you. fully
Keep your
protected.
documentation supporting too.
Yes, yes, yes. It's very important. It's not like, oh, now you are a naturalized citizen, throw it away. Don't do that.
Actually, I know a woman who lost her naturalization papers. You know, I just couldn't believe it because of the fact that, you know, my wife's naturalization papers I keep in a safe. I mean, like, how could you lose your naturalization papers?
Right.
Well, I'd really like to thank you for coming on in, and we really appreciated the insight, and I thank you once again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was an interesting session.
It was,
Right?
and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Again, last advice to the audience, always consult with an experienced immigration lawyers if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.